Looking at it from the point of view that, this is God's temple and I need to take care of it. Of course, it's deeper than that too, but
Mhm.
on the surface, that was a game changer for me. I know I put muscle on, so I know I've lost some fat and I put some muscle on. So I don't know how you do that equation, but
Yeah.
yeah, it feels good. I know overall I'm down 43 pounds.
Awesome. Let's go. Cool, man. Yeah, I think we can go a lot of different directions with the conversation, but what I think people would resonate most is what before this journey, which it's been, how long now? A little over a year, right?
Mhm.
About a little over a year. What were the main things you were struggling with before starting this?
Wow, you guys, there's so much there. Obviously, weight. I mean, that was the probably the main overall physical thing you could see. But people that have put on weight and struggle with taking it off, putting it on, taking it off, putting it on, there's so many underlying things that go on there. So I struggled with that. My confidence, I struggled with eating and I'm not going to say anything that trust me, somebody that goes through this doesn't understand. And that's that, oh, I screwed up. It's Thursday. Well, I'll start over on Monday, that kind
Mhm.
of thing. My big struggle was I've worked out for many, many years. But what would always screw me up is going on like vacation or if I had a block where I got away from it for a short while, well, then it was hard to pick it back up. Not that I didn't, but I would. But I read something a while back. We all know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is. I was just reading an article and it was talking about just, look around the gym. Look at the guys you've seen for years. Are they changing?
Mm.
And going to the same gyms or with the career that I have seen some of the same guys always going to gym and they don't change. There's no
Yeah.
physical change. Their muscles might get a little bit bigger or something like that, but their bodies, their physiques don't change. So I knew there was something else that had to be there. And I'm not even getting into the physical or the religious side of this yet. This is just all the mental game and
Yeah.
and the physical game. So yeah, I went through the struggles that everybody else does. Food tastes
Mhm.
good, man, and I felt like well, for instance, when yesterday we hosted some people from church. They're going to be coming to seminary here, young couple, just a fabulous couple, and we took them to a place here local called Loblolly. It's a local creamery. All right, so
Mhm.
we had lunch and then we went there and got them some ice cream. And I shared a cup with my wife. It was
Yeah.
just a little double scoop. And you know what? I was completely satisfied. And I told them, I
Mhm.
said, if you'd have taken me back a year from now or 2 years ago, for some reason in my brain, I had to have my own big bowl. And I don't mean
Mhm.
just the two scoops. I had to have the stuff on it and eat that whole thing like a meal. And then if my wife didn't finish hers, I'd finish it. So
Mhm.
there's a deep physical, psychological thing with all that. But
Yeah.
now I'm completely satisfied. I would have been just as happy going there and not even having any, but I
Wow.
enjoyed the moment. So that was fine. I had
Yeah.
a small scoop of ice cream and I was totally fine with that. So that was a big deal for me. But then there was also the God side of it, the Jesus
Mhm.
side of it. And
Mhm.
I don't exactly remember, Gabe, how you reached out to me. Well, I know how you reached out to me. I don't know why. I believe I liked something of yours on X. I don't know if it was still called
Yeah.
Twitter at the time. And you reached out. I know the first time that you did, I pushed it off like it was some weirdo, I mean, because you don't know, people reaching out to you, the what do they call uh, IG or whatever the heck it's called,
The
instant
AI
messenger or
thing.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, or DM, I think it's got. I'm like,
Hey, I thought you were a little weird too at first. I thought you were a little weird too because I think you played a joke on
I
me and you're
did.
like, this is fake, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
dude, no, this isn't fake.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to know. Yeah, exactly, because I didn't want to play games with people, and then you reached out again. I think I said I'll get back with you or something like that, and it was like the next morning you said, "Hey, man, you ready?" And I was like, "Okay, so this isn't an AI thing. It's at least a human, and I can always turn it off. I don't, so we talked and listening to you, and then researching the program that you have and your. I know I've told you this 100 times. You're so young, but your wisdom in God and the gospel is crazy old. I don't know how to explain that. You've taught me so much. Looking at it from a different point of view, looking at it from the point of view that, this is God's temple and I need to take care of it. Of course, it's deeper than that too, but
Mhm.
on the surface, that was a game changer for me. That was something like, well, man, I'm a Christian. God trusts me with this body. I want it to be here. We all don't know how long we're going to be here. It could be this afternoon for me or you or anybody, but I would hope that it's a long time from now. And in that hope that it's a long time from now, I want to be healthy and I want to be a light for people. And trust me, I've had so many people ask me, "What are you doing?" Of course, they instantly go to what's the latest craze, what shot
Mhm.
are you taking,
Yeah.
what's the diet you're on, that kind of thing. And at first it perturbed me just a little bit because, man, you have to put the effort in to do this. Yes, it's
Mhm.
calories in, calories out. That's the easy part of the science, but there's a lot more to it. And like I said, at first it kind of upset me, and then I thought, well, heck, why let that upset me? At least we're starting a
Mhm.
conversation, and so I flipped that, and I was just like, well, if you want to know, I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing, and
Mhm.
and that's where it went. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's interesting because from the beginning of our interactions, it was clear that you're the type of person who has a heart to serve and a
Mhm.
heart to lead. And I remember in the beginning you saying, like, you would take care of everybody else, but not really take care of yourself, right? You're a firefighter, right? So that heart of being like self-sacrificial is so clear and so radiant. And even in your interaction with us and your whole time, whether it was like at the event in Nashville or the events in Nashville, and the interactions with other guys on the calls, you were just seeking to serve and pouring into people and even pouring into me, like personally pouring into me, totally separate from any of our business relationship. So I think what I'm curious about is, as somebody who has always put others first, how is taking care of you in line with that value you have of taking care of others?
I mean, think about it. If you can't take care of yourself, how can you take care of other people? And I was a physical example of, you're right. I think I've got a very good friend of mine, my best friend besides my wife, that we both have that servant's heart, and we
Mhm.
both discussed it. And you know, if you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to be there 100% for other people. So you do have to give yourself some time. It's just like the A-type personality people that, they're huge in business and industry and stuff like that. And you see it all the time. You see these people that are wealthier, they just have everything, at least on the surface they do. And man, a lot of them physically they're torn apart. And even the guys that really take care of themselves, you can see that what's important to them is the junk that they have, showing you their
Mhm.
pictures of, their Ferrari and their blah blah blah. I mean, all that stuff's great, and I'm not knocking anybody. By God, I love
Mhm.
billionaires. I'm all for this stuff, man.
Yeah.
But to break it down, yeah, just simply, if you cannot take care of yourself or do not take, can you take care of other people? 100%.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
and even if you're not the type of person that just, not trying to be self-righteous here, but if you're more a little more aligned with yourself, you still want to be healthy. You
Mhm.
still want to live a good life, and one of the main things that happened to me, I have 4 grandkids now, and I watched my father-in-law, who was a 30-year fireman, has a very successful business as a construction business. And these latter years, man, he's starting to get dementia. And we're slowly watching him. He's still functional and all that kind of stuff here, but they took away his driver's license. He can't drive. He depends on other people. He forgets things. So we're starting to watch this stuff. And I thought, and that may not have anything to do with his physical being, but I just thought, I want to be there for my grandkids. I want to be functional. I want to be able to move. That's another thing, not just have some muscles and not just be thinner or lean, excuse me,
Mhm.
but I want to be able to move. How many people do you see out there in the world that are just a little bit older, and everything's locked up on them? They can't,
Yeah.
they move, and their whole body moves, and they can't, I'm jumping up in and out of my back of my pickup still. I grab that tailgate. I don't know if I could do it without my hands, but I'm afraid I'll catch my toe and bust my bust my neck. But I mean, I'm not afraid to just grab that thing and hop right up there. And I just
Yeah.
turned 57 the other day. So there's no reason why a person, heck man, like the things that I've read, you can still gain muscle in your 90s. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't you be working out so you're your best fit? You know,
Mm,
I'm not, I'm sitting outside right now, but I'm in a stiff chair. I don't want a rocking chair. That's for later at night if I'm, at the end of the day. I don't want to sit here all day and just look at birds, even though I got the bird feeder right here. But I
oh,
want to enjoy life, man, and I want to get out on my bike and I want to go do this stuff. I want to hike, I'm enjoying this stuff. It's invigorated me. And I just know it's kind of like we all know somebody when we're a Christian that we kind of target and we want to bring them to Christ. And
mm,
sometimes we can't do it. But is that our job? My job
mm,
is to basically plant the seed,
mm,
you know, and then live the life in front of them and let them see what I have. And hopefully they want to grab it. And then they can
mm,
ask me or someone else. In fact, my best friend that I referred to a little while ago, extremely wealthy, has had everything his entire life.
mm,
Great guy, but he got into many, many things that he shouldn't because he was always looking for that next thing. And
mm.
I had to, back in the early 90s, I had to take my family away from him. We
Oh,
had to
wow.
just separate. Yeah, we had to, and it was a tough thing for somebody that was,
Yeah.
my best friend. And later on, he got himself straightened out with Christ. And I apologized to him, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like that. And he said, "What are you apologizing for?" I said, "Listen, I feel terrible that I wasn't the one that led you to Christ." And he looked at me and he goes, "Who are
Mm.
you? Who are you the one that says that who's supposed to bring me to Christ?" And
Man.
I was like, "Oh," it shocked me. It was like a slap in the face. And that
Mm,
made me go, "Well, you're right. Maybe I did exactly what I was supposed to." And then that next
mm,
guy stepped in, and
mm,
that's how it worked out. So we have to sometimes realize that, I'm working out now. My grandkids see it, my daughter-in-law see
mm,
it, my wife sees it, my family sees it. When I go home, we just went home for a week, and there was nothing but great comments. And yes, that's nice. Don't get me wrong. It's kind of like what I do for a living. I love what I do for a living. I'm going to do it for about another 2 years, and I'm done. Don't ever give me an award. I don't care about that. I get a paycheck every 2 weeks. That's how I am about it. But it is nice to be able to hear it, knowing that I'm doing the right thing and that people see it,
yeah.
you know.
I hear you saying. Yeah. It almost sounds like one of the ways you've thought about this is that you are simply setting an example for people and trusting God to work in their hearts,
Absolutely.
potentially using your example, versus the mindset that we get a lot of times as great-hearted Christian men who love people and want to serve
Mhm.
people. Of I'm going to go take care of them hands on, sacrifice myself to the point of death, versus I'm going to set the example and trust God to work through that example.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful, man. What do you feel like are some of the ways that this process of stewarding your body and committing into this, like what have you learned about your relationship with God? How has this strengthened your faith?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, number one, through this program, I have developed friendships with other Christians that do this. And like I said, I think I'm 30 years older than you. I'm somewhere right in that range of 30 years older than you. That's crazy to me that your knowledge and your wisdom is so deep. It makes me want to do that too. It makes me strive to be a stronger Christian. And by doing this, yeah, because I know that what I'm doing is correct. I'm not doing it for the people to look at me and go, "Dang, he looks good," that kind of thing. Yes, again, that's nice, but the only person I got to impress is my wife in there. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Nobody else. I don't. It doesn't matter what my physical being is. However, on the flip side of that, it is nice to be an example for my grandsons, for my
mm,
sons, and for friends. And then if I'm leading off topic, just bring me back. But I just feel that by keeping myself in shape and being at church, being there for people, it's an example to people, and they can't help but ask. I get asked.
mm.
I think I told you once before. One of the funniest things happened to me at church, two different occasions where someone come up and they kind of get close to me and they go, "Are you okay? Is something wrong?" I'm looking at them like, "What do you mean?" They go, "Are you sick?" I mean, what do you mean, am I sick? What? Like, do you have cancer?
Yeah.
Like, no, but because I lost so much weight, they 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 just think you're sick. because that's how most
Hmm.
people do it. You know,
Yeah.
you don't see that great example of society getting their butts in shape. You know, we're going
Hmm.
the other way. We're eating garbage and we're overindulging and then on top of that, you see we walk away from Christ. You see where
Hmm.
we are.
Yeah.
So a program like yours is incredible because you're gathering men together, you know, we're fellowshipping together, we're strengthening our bodies, we're strengthening our commitment to God, and it's a good holy unity. You know, I just think it's a fantastic thing for people. It's not, you know, hey dude, let's get ourselves in shape so we can drink the whatever 90-calorie beer on the weekend and go look at babes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and we look hot, you know,
Yeah.
we pull our shorts down enough to where you can
Studs.
see. Yeah, I mean, just give me a break. All that stuff is so superficial. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But that again, that's society, that's the commercials, that's everything.
Mm.
It's driven that way. We need more of this. We
Yeah.
need people that see good, godly examples for people. And that's what you
Mm.
guys do. And you train us. And you know, let me add to that a little bit. The nice thing is you guys let me do this. You just guided me, right?
Mm.
I mean, you weren't in the gym with me a couple times, although it's a couple times that we met up. I mean, I live in a different state than you. So how freaking cool is that? You guided me. You put some instructions for me on an app. You were there every day for me if I needed you, and you taught me how to eat. Sorry, my dog is about to go crazy with the big dog next door.
Oh, good.
And that's how we did it. You know, I mean, how cool is that? Where for years and years, and guess what? Years and years I couldn't do it on my own. And then you brought Jesus in and on top of that. Now we all
Mm.
know through him we can do anything. Well,
Hmm.
I'm a living example of that, you know. So I think that's fantastic. I love what you're doing. Love it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm really glad to hear that because that is the goal. And it's almost interesting how 85% of this conversation has been dominated by what God's done, in our hearts through this process versus, what are the nitty-gritties of like the exercises we did or something like that. Not that
Yeah.
that is irrelevant because that's the plan, that's the counsel. Obviously, that generates like the tangible results. But it's cool to see like the focus is what is God doing in my life? What's he doing in my life through this and the lives of the people that I serve and that I lead. So that's awesome, man. That's the goal. That's the focus. I have a little bit more of a specific question for you because you went through something recently that was, first of all, like wild and scary. Were you in Israel? Were you in Israel? I think,
Yes.
and obviously the timing of that with things getting kicked off over there on that side of
Yeah.
the world
Yeah.
was kind of wild. I thought about asking you questions of how we can have the conversation strategically. How do you kind of maintain weight when life's crazy? But what I'm really more curious about is you're in a situation with family members, I believe,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
loved ones at the
Hmm.
very least, where there had to be a certain level of poise and strength demonstrated,
Hmm.
I imagine, through you. Not just to like get back home, but just to like not allow the culture of who you're traveling with to go into fear and panic and worry and despair, right? Because you're in a situation where you're truly facing risk
Yeah.
and unknown, like existential unknown. So would you be able to share a bit about number one, that experience, but also how you think you have changed in a way that like allows you to be a more present and sturdy leader in any situation?
Yeah. Just real quick, I'll go ahead and say it. We were over there with the son of the ambassador of Israel. Okay. So the first thing would be like, why'd you guys go? Do you honestly think if the ambassador knew something was going to happen, he would tell his son to Israel? Of course not. So the timetable
Oh,
had moved up, like everybody knows. All the heads of Iran were in one place, so the timetable moved. They knew they were going to do it. So the one thing that he did tell them was to have a contingency plan, have a plan B and a plan C. So we toured Jerusalem, we toured the area
mm,
there, then we moved up to Galilee, and we were only in our first day we stayed the night when, and that's when they knew things had started to escalate. So they decided to, I knew they didn't tell everybody. There was only the leadership part of it. I did the photography, excuse me. I shot the photography for the group. So we found out a little bit before everybody else, and we wanted them to enjoy half of a day. We went and did one program, and then we took everybody to baptize them. Okay.
Hmm.
And so we did that, and that's when we announced it afterwards that hey, we've got to cut and run. So they actually, the guides and the ambassador had suggested to go to Jordan. It's a very friendly state right next door. It was quick to get there. But the leadership got together and discussed it and said, when you look on a map, that's right in the flight path. That's right in the
Oh,
flight
wow.
path. So we decided to
Hmm.
go to Egypt instead. And
Hmm.
so, what was cool about this was we went across the Sinai Peninsula, got to see Mount Sinai,
Oh,
and
cool.
we turned it into, hey, reverse Exodus. Hey, we're going to
Yeah.
Egypt, and we're coming out of Israel going into Egypt, and so we turned it in that. And I'll tell you, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't the only one there that was cool, calm, and collected, if you will. I
Hmm.
I kind of have to do that for my job. I'm not saying that I never get scared and things
Hmm.
don't go right and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm human just like anybody else, and so, but you do sometimes have a perspective a little bit different. But you also
Hmm.
have that perspective of knowing that God's hand is there. I mean, my God, we're in the Holy
Hmm.
Land, right? Bad things
Yeah.
happen there, don't get me wrong, but we're there. So everybody there was a Christian. So that
Hmm.
made it 100 times easier. There were
Hmm.
some nervous people, but mostly everybody kept it together. And I think that had a lot to do with the leadership. The leadership kept calm, kept relaxed, kept everybody informed. And I
Hmm.
think that has a lot to do with it. You have to talk. You have to let people know. Don't just let them squirm back there in the bus, and riding across that
Hmm.
desert.
That's good.
And, so when we luckily got across the border to Egypt down near Eilat, which is kind of where the Red Sea comes up, and you can see Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and Israel. So you can see all these nations
Oh,
from one little spot. So we crossed there, and we got across there relatively quick. And then we found out the next morning when we got up, because we actually stayed at a resort just inside, 2 miles in. Really nice
oh,
place.
well.
It was very nice. It was right on sea. We were blessed to wake up to that.
Oh,
But we
that's
found
cool.
out, yeah, yeah, yeah. But we found out that there were over 200 buses on the other side of the border trying to get across. So we
Hmm.
we had that little bit of help. And I'm not saying those people didn't either, but we had help. And when they started firing missiles off towards Israel and all the places, because they just shoot rockets off, we didn't take the short route. There was a much shorter route to Cairo. We went
Hmm.
down through the Sinai Peninsula, and it ended up being a 12-hour drive. But
Wow.
the Egyptian people were wonderful. We went to I don't want to make it more than it is. I mean, we went to the pyramids, saw the Sphinx. They have
Nice.
a new, listen, I went to Egypt in, I think my wife said 2014. We were on a Footsteps of Paul cruise, and we went to Egypt, and I'm going to tell you, it was right after their revolution. Yeah, I just said I never want to go back
Oh,
there again. It was dirty. It was nasty. I felt terrible for the people. They had no money. They were begging us you couldn't even look at the pyramids for 2 minutes. That's all I would. If you'd left me alone for 2 minutes just to look at the marvel of those things, I would have been like, okay, I can come back here someday. But they couldn't. And I understand. But I said I'd never go back. Well, we didn't have a choice. I mean, we did have a choice, but our choice was we went there and
yeah.
completely different. The Egyptian people were wonderful. They have poured so much money into that place. I guess you'd call it the Natural Museum of History for
Hmm.
Egypt, where all King Tut stuff is. They just opened up a brand new $1.2 billion facility that is just, man, if there's a nicer one on the planet, I don't know of it. It's just wonderful. So we ended up staying an extra day or two because the flights were difficult. We had a couple flights canceled. Our team got split up because of whatever at the airport. But we just leaned on God. We
Hmm.
just, I mean, what can you do? You're
Yeah.
overseas. You have nothing but a bag with you and a cell phone
Hmm.
and a
Hmm.
passport. What can you do? So you just try to keep your head together, and you just try to make the best moves you can. And it worked out good for us.
Yeah.
We didn't get stuck because there were
Yeah.
people still there weeks afterwards.
Right. Man, yeah, that's wild. I think a constant theme I'm noticing is just that almost surrender and this kind of culture of, in your weakness, in my weakness, you are strong, Lord. I
Hmm.
think that's something that a lot of people get wrong, in fitness is they think that it's going to be all on them
Hmm.
to either figure out or to be able to willpower through. And the mindset a lot of the times is like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can lock in. But then it ends up crashing and burning. Whereas I see the people who tend to succeed the most have this heart of humility and more so recognize, I need help.
Hmm.
Lord, I need you. I'm going to welcome help from other people, and I'm going to welcome help from you, because no, I can't actually do this without you. And it
Right.
seems like you have that heart of humility and just surrendering to the Lord, which,
Hmm.
seems like it creates peace in a lot of areas of life.
Which, Gabe, is what you have us do at the beginning of the program. You have us write down some things and do some studies, and basically I had to break down who I was and who I'm going to be. And I think if you go back and look at my notes, a whole bunch of who I was all about who I was. And
Mm,
when that gear, that mind change flipped, then it and the heart changed, then it was, hey, now well, I got this with God now. Because I
mm,
can't, obviously for I, I don't know, 38 years, whatever, I didn't have it on my own, you know.
mm,
Yeah, I dropped down weight a few times, also put it back on and more, it's that cycle, you know.
mm,
But now I know that I know when I said earlier about, you let me on my own do this, but I also said you guys were with me every day on the app.
mm,
So yeah, I had
mm.
I had to do the work. I had to do the physical work. But
Yep.
God and you guys were there to help me with the emotional and the physical and keeping me aligned, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. And that's the same thing
That
over
does.
there. Yeah, that was the same thing that happened over there. You know, I mean, I'm not Jason Bourne. I can't go over there and win the war and sneak
Yeah.
around and fly out on a C-130 underneath the wings with, on the dang wheels. That ain't happening. Plus I had
Right.
60, 80-year-olds with me. What am I doing with them, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, so you're right. You do have to have humility and you have to understand that yes, you can do things on your own. Generally they're not going to come out the way you want them to. Maybe they
Mm,
do a little bit, but I grew up in Las Vegas. Those giant resorts and billion-dollar resorts do not get built out of someone's charity. People go there
mm,
and lose. They go there and lose, and that's how those things get built. Yeah, there's people
mm,
that win a lot of money. Yeah. But the
mhm,
equation, the more people lose than the people that win, a lot more.
mm,
Because why
mm.
else would they build those things? Not because, Elon Musk is just so rich he wants to build something so people can go to, his Disneyland for free. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
We're capitalists, man. We want money,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah. Man, that's so cool. So overall, right, it's been a year in January, February, March, April, May, about
Mhm.
5 months, about a year, 5 months, down 43 pounds.
Mhm.
And you've sustained the consistency, which I think is the most impressive part, and that's the real fruit. Not without challenge, not
Right.
without
Right.
trial. Like I think what's really important for people to know is that there has been trial
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
sustaining this, right? Trial, frustration, and like hardship in
Hmm.
sustaining this with just
Hmm.
different things going on in life and different challenges. So I say that to highlight just how significant is though that you have been able to stay consistent, because that is what we are really going after. That is the
Hmm.
righteousness and peace, and that is what creates the even possibility for the actual tangible results. So what would you say, and this is where we can kind of close this off,
Okay. Okay.
what would you say is the one thing that people need to focus on so that they can be consistent
Okay.
long term?
Okay. It's like everything in life. There's a foundation, and when you build on that foundation, it works. All this stuff we see on social media, on TV, and all these things about the latest this and that, man, it's just the basics. It's the basics of it. You know it's calories in, calories out. Okay, so when we have that's the foundation. So now that we have that, besides the God part of this, because that's a huge part. When you start with that foundation, then you can just build upon that and it's stable. It's not going anywhere. You don't want to do these dumb fads. You don't want to do this stuff that
Mm,
dumps a bunch of weight because that guy that's in super good shape and all that stuff and he's handsome and he's got you doing all this stuff. Well, that's what he does for a living. It's not, and he's probably got people that fix his food and all that kind of stuff. But most of us don't have that. Most of
mhm,
us have a life. I mean, I leave here from my house for 2 days. I go to work for 2 days and then I'm off for 4 days. I have to find time while I'm at work to work out and eat properly. Trust me, the environment I'm in at work at a firehouse is not a healthy eating plan. Okay. The
mhm.
guys, and especially here in the South, these guys want to fry everything. Just
Uh-huh.
everything. Let's fry it, okay? Because everything tastes good, fry it, and let's put it in bacon grease. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
So you have to be able to basically stand your ground and find what your moral compass is, and stick with that. And at the beginning of the program with you guys, you had me write that out, and I refer to that all the time. I did. I absolutely changed who I was and how I thought. And when you do that, it's just like I know anybody that ends up watching this, they've had a moment, a life-changing moment that
mhm.
that shifted for them. And that's what happened for me. It totally went, that here I am going like this. And when I had this program or actually I was going like this, and then I caught the program and then bam, I went off on this other tangent. And that's where I'm at. I'm not, it's not a diet. It's not a just a workout plan. It is my life. It's what I do now. I've been doing it for a year, what'd you say, year and 5 months. I look
Yeah.
forward to working out. I'm gonna go mow my son's house and take my grandson to get him a little bit of ice cream because he helps me. And then I'm gonna come back and work out. And I just look forward to that. A long time ago it was like, oh God, I gotta work out.
Mm,
Now I don't normally set a, a time in the day like a lot of people work out at 5:30 every morning, stuff like that. I don't. I just know I'm going to work out, and I may be around the house doing something. I'll just go, yeah, time to work out, and I run upstairs and I hit my gym up there and I work out. I have missed. This is a key thing too. I have only missed maybe two workouts in that year and a half.
mm.
I have had a
Wow.
couple where I couldn't get to it and I made it up the next day.
Mhm,
I double worked out. Now, I'm not saying that there hasn't been a couple weeks like just last week. I took a week off because I had gone through my 12-week program, so I took a week off. Now I
mhm,
walked. I had over
mhm.
15,000 steps every day, and I ate properly. And yes, yes, sir, I ate In-N-Out Burger 4 times. I only ate it once with the bun. Every other time, I just ate it, protein style.
Let's
So
go.
yeah, yeah, man. So you can go out and eat. You can do all that stuff. I mean, I was out of town. We ate out a lot, but I just looked what was good. Let's put it this way: when you go to the gas station and you fill up your vehicle, albeit it's expensive right now, but when you put fuel in there, you're putting gasoline in there, right? Or a diesel if you're driving a diesel truck or something. You don't put water in there because if you put water in there, the thing ain't gonna run right. So
Mm,
why do I want to put junk in my body that doesn't make me run right and makes me susceptible? That's hard for you to say susceptible to disease and things like that. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not going to get those things, whatever. God's got a plan, whatever it is, we'll go with it. But if I can do the proper things and fuel my body right, make it healthy, I think that my life, if it's 2 years from now or it's 25 years from now, I'm going to be much healthier and enjoy it, and it's going to bring me closer to God.
mm.
I think it's pretty simple. I did I answer the crux of your question there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say
The
it in words.
foundation.
Yeah.
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 There's too much of a mindset of like not going deep enough with this and not truly addressing the root of
Mm-hmm.
who we are and how we
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yeah.
And for how a man thinketh, so is he, right? And it's like, so if I am constantly struggling with this thing, I can try to slap whatever the world's solutions are onto it,
Mm-hmm.
whatever drug onto it, even nowadays. But if it doesn't change at the root, there's not going to be that consistency. And it seems like you really
Yeah.
embrace that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I thank you guys for it. I think it's an incredible program. I think that everybody should get involved in something like this if you struggle. And even if you don't struggle, just getting involved in the community is a great thing. Just to be there and be amongst other Christians that have the same struggles you can talk to them about it, help each
Hmm.
other out, because that's another thing. Not only do I talk to you and the coach, I also talk to the other people that are work, customers, clients, whatever you want to call them, and we throw things off of each other. We bounce things. We encourage each other. Hey man, I used to do that. Yeah, but I do this now. We share food
Hmm.
ideas. You do all that kind of stuff. And then there's always God is there. We're always
Hmm.
talking about that. So it's a wonderful thing. It's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful program. And man, just everybody should get involved. They really should.
Appreciate those kind of words, man. Tony,
Absolutely.
dude, it's been an honor working with you, man. I appreciate everything you do.
Absolutely, man. Same here. I if I hadn't taken your call, I'd still be fat and hating life. And I know I'm not supposed to use those words. I know we talk differently, but that's who I was. I was just
Yeah, yeah.
fat. You couldn't walk up a set of stairs without, running out of breath, and that's changed. And number one, because of God,
I'm good.
and then number two, you guys reaching out to me. So I think it's wonderful.
Appreciate that, man.
Yep.
God's good, man.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
Cool. Go ahead and end the recording here.
Okay.
Boom.